Hey guys, what is up? It's Totalxclipse here, and I hope you're all well, and welcome to our third official episode in the Super Efficient Build Guide, where we try to create the finished item as close to 100% clock speed as possible. Now, in our last episode, we constructed 10 modular frames per minute. You can actually find that episode in the top right hand corner right now, and today we shall be creating steel beams, and then go on to create a versatile framework, thanks to us already having prepared the modular frames. So if you do enjoy these videos, be sure to drop a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump in game. So, first things first, note that we are using only vanilla recipes in-game currently, but we'll go on to talk about alternative recipes in future videos. Now, for this video, you will have to have Mark III conveyors unlocked, as well as underclocking. Now, in order to create the versatile framework, we will need to match the 10 modular frames which we currently have, with a total of 120 steel beams, which means we will need 8 constructors running at 100% clock speed. Now, in order to smelt the ingots required for this build, we will need 12 foundries, 10 running at 100% clock speed and 2 running at 33% clock speed. Now, I shall also mention here that we are using bottom-fed foundries for this. It is optional, and we are also running a manifold operation. This is simply because of it being very much easier to expand if necessary in the future. Now, first off, we will need an 8x10 grid. Now, once you've found the right location, I suggest you use a paint gun to mark out the area. It's just going to make everything much easier. So, getting started, part 1 will consist of us placing 6 foundries along both of the longest edges. Start by placing down a splitter on the first row of foundations of the grid, and it should also be placed in the penultimate column and should be flush against both the bordering foundation edges. Now, from here we will place a foundry 2 places in front of the splitter. This should be the perfect position for the foundry. Now, from here we will need to place 5 other foundries to the left of this one. Now, each will be placed alternately in the center of the foundation, then directly across 2 foundations. Now, repeat this for the remaining foundries. Note that we will also do this on the opposite side. However, it will be easier to do this after placing the rest of the factory, because it is just going to mirror the current setup. Now, for part 2, we shall place a merger in front of each of the foundries. They should be flush against the side and continue straight towards the end of the line, with the exception of the last foundry, whose merger will be facing to the center of the factory. Next, we shall place splitters. 2 splitters should be placed either side of the penultimate merger. Then the final splitter will be placed directly after the second merger. Now, at this point, you can connect this bus together with the Mark III conveyors. Now, part 3 consists of placing the constructors. Now, the first constructor should be placed immediately after the merger at the end of the foundation, and we will then place 3 more constructors in front of each of the splitters. You should now have 3 constructors flush against one another, and a single constructor 1 constructor's worth of space away from the other constructors. Now, from here we will place mergers facing the same direction in front of the constructors. Now, to make the effect look neater, I've placed the merger directly spanning the 2 center foundations. I highly recommend this. It's going to make the rest of the factory look symmetrical and neat and beautiful. Now, at this point, we will add the other 4 constructors. Now, these will be placed mirroring the current constructors, and once done, we can connect all the constructors to the mergers again with the Mark III conveyors. Part 4, at this point, we need to continue the mirror of the foundries and the splitter merger combos. However, it is important that the foundries are offset compared to the first row of foundries. This is because you need both sets of foundries outputs directly facing each other. Now, once you have done this, you will need to set steel ingots for the foundries, noting that the two first foundries should be running steel ingots at 33.3% underclock and the rest of the foundries at 100% clock speed. From here, we will set each of the constructors to build steel beams. Now with this done, we arrive at part 5. Now here, we will need to construct a manifold for both sets of foundries. Now a simple manifold can be created by placing the splitters 2 spaces away from the foundry, and the foundry lines should be alternately 3 and 4 splitters stacked high, and we will then delete all the other splitters along this manifold that aren't going to be used. From here, we will connect them with the Mark III conveyor belts and elevators to connect them to the foundry. Now to place this manifold beneath the factory, you will need to place a foundation 1 3/4 large foundations deep, and from here complete this the same way we spoke about the previous manifold. Now once this is done, connect the foundries with elevators and then add walkways along the whole setup to give it a nice clean appeal. Now from here, the last thing you need to do is set up the power. Now do note, if you want to run power from below the foundries, you will need to place the foundry at least half a foundation step lower to cater for the size of the power poles. So there you are. You're now running steel beams at 120 items per minute. Now make sure you run the output bus either to a storage area, or if you want to create versatile framework, then you will need to run it along to the next factory. Now do note, I am running the finished product line above the bus feeding the foundries, and this will run along to where we need to set up the versatile framework factory. Now with all of that done, your factory should look quite similar, if not exactly the same as this one. Now next up, we need to cover the versatile framework. Now providing you already have the 10 modular frames per minute from the factory we developed in the last video, then you should be able to place down the 4 assemblers in a line. Then create a manifold as we normally do with splitters, 2 places away from the assembler, and build the manifold to the desired height. Then connect from the assemblers to the manifold the elevators, and we will then feed the modular frames along one manifold line and steel beams along the other. Again, note that the conveyor for the second manifold containing the steel beams will need to be a Mark II conveyor or higher. Now from here, we will need to connect the versatile framework assemblers to a container and power the factory line. Now doing so will complete the versatile framework factory, leaving you with a total of 20 versatile framework per minute. So there you are guys, sorry it was quite a long one, we're at over 10 minutes now, but hopefully it helps you along with your factory. Now again, if you enjoy these videos, please do hit the thumbs up icon, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. Anyway guys, until next time, thanks for watching, and as always, ciao for now.